I'm Debbie Bell-Hosking for Finextra TV at Sibos 2025 in Frankfurt. And I'm joined by Mark Fieldhouse, Chief Revenue Officer, Form 3, and Shanker Ramamurthy, Global Managing Partner, Banking and Financial Markets at IBM. And we're talking about this interesting momentum that's happening within financial institutions of convergence of infrastructure and innovation. And what a nice topic as well, because we're talking about being next gen ready. So welcome both to the sofa.
Thank you.
Thank you, and to our TV studio. So I mentioned it there. We're talking about blending of infrastructures first. So we've got on-prem, we've got hybrid, we've got SaaS cloud. How would you say this is impacting the future of payments?
Yeah, this is a really exciting topic. I think as I look at the industry, there's not one choice that overrides everything else. I think this is the agility that banks are looking for now, where they can choose between that on-premise approach for agility for themselves, they can choose a hybrid or cloud as well. And I don't think there's one right answer for every situation, but I think at the root of everything is the scale, of course, the agility, the resilience, and the security. So those play a very crucial role. And if they get that right, I think the competitiveness comes from being able to implement AI, agentic layers in each of those levels. And that's a really exciting opportunity, but it means that they have to operate at pace. And I think that's probably where IBM play a great role in that.
Oh, absolutely. So like Mark was saying, we genuinely believe that tomorrow's computing platform is hybrid multi-cloud. So what do we mean by that? Large banks and financial institutions are going to be operating with more than one hyperscaler. The regulators like that to be the case. They're going to have their own data center. They might have a private cloud. They're going to have a bunch of third-party providers who have their own kind of compute platform. And they got to figure out how to bring all that together in an optimal way in a fit-for-purpose compute paradigm. And we call that hybrid multi-cloud. And all the investments we've been making as IBM is in facilitating clients to get to that right compute platform. Exciting times ahead.
Gosh, exciting times, and there's so many different elements that need to come together now. And let's look at those innovations. You mentioned compute paradigms. We're looking at generative models, tokenized assets, faster rails. So again, financial institutions, when they look at this, what do they prioritize? What ought they combine? And earlier, you mentioned about being competitive.
Yeah, it's a very difficult time, I think, for CIOs and CTOs to choose that path or direction, because there's a multitude of ways you can go. I think if you look back at where compute has historically come from, you've had traditional compute with CPU, and then accelerated compute, of course, with the likes of NVIDIA and others, where the paradigms are sort of merging, and you need to be able to leverage all of those. Now, if you're leveraging generative AI, that can be applied from networking to data centers to applications, right? So I think this optionality that people have is creating real energy and excitement, but you have to plan that path very carefully. And we find that API-driven or API-first world is the way to consume, digest, and then give that back to your customers as agile services.
Absolutely. So the combination of hybrid cloud and AI and generative AI is a transformative set of exponential technologies that's not only exciting from a technology standpoint, it's actually starting to change business models in banking. So no longer is the banking business model simply the business determining strategy and technology executing on it. Technology capabilities are now starting to inform business strategies. And in 35 years in consulting, I've never seen anything like this. Future beckons bright. The next 3 years are going to be about, have I got my strategy right given what I can do and the amount of change that's happening in the payment ecosystem? Am I executing fast enough given all the opportunities and the challenges? Do I have the ecosystem and partnerships and capability to achieve the outcomes? And most enterprises would say the answer is partial yes or a maybe. And that's where firms like Form 3 and IBM come together in helping our clients achieve the right outcome.
I love those 3 questions.
And if I may, I think one point that you raised, which is really interesting, is a composite flow or an application now doesn't have the luxury of operating in a single discrete unit. It has to traverse across a multitude of systems, applications, security paradigms, all while being highly regulated. And I think that's probably the challenge for most banks, right, is doing it under governance.
Good questions, good challenges, and I also tuned into what you said about finding the right pathways as well, which is interesting. Now, Shanker, let's go to you for a moment. Your quantum work with HSBC, we've touched on the different forms of AI and how it's been transformative. Has it been influential and a catalyst for the quantum work?
So I talked about thanks for raising quantum. I talked about hybrid cloud and generative AI. Just over the horizon is quantum computing. And we in IBM believe by 2029, quantum will provide capabilities that are going to be extraordinarily compelling for risk management, for revenue, for modeling things that traditional computers are not able to model. And when you bring these technologies together, absolute magic happens. Now, the math behind quantum computing is challenging and complex, and the programming of that paradigm is going to be hard work. This is where generative AI is going to accelerate the ability of the technology organization to actually write the software to model for quantum using generative AI capabilities. So when you bring those pieces together, incredible opportunities open up, and I couldn't be more excited. Until today, we've been talking about quantum more in a quantum safe cryptography standpoint, because bad actors are looking to steal encrypted data today and sit on it waiting for quantum computers so that data can be decrypted. And if it's longitudinally valid data, then banks are exposed. So there are techniques called quantum safe cryptography that can be used to encrypt that data. But the most recent article you were talking about, the work we've done with HSBC, where they've done bonds modeling, looking at historical data, they found that they can get 34% more value by using quantum computing. So it's not quite over the horizon is rushing at us. So you put hybrid cloud, generative AI, quantum together, the future couldn't be more exciting for financial institutions.
Gosh, it really is, and the horizon is coming towards us very quickly.
Yeah, and I think if you think the explosion of AI on the world is fast, I think quantum is going to be a seismic shift in, and you know, the more optimistic will tell you it's 3 to 5 years, the slightly more pessimistic are even only out to 10 years, right? So you've got the traditional compute, the accelerated compute for AI, and now you've got quantum as that trifactor of performance, AI, accelerated learning. And I think what excites me the most is not the generative side of AI so much, but is the inference that IBM did with HSBC, where you spot patterns in data, you're looking for things that humans just don't know or can't respond to quickly enough. So the future is very exciting.
My goodness, what a way to end this interview. I mean, our industry has been through so much change already, and I feel we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg from what you're saying.
More to come. Yesterday's banking model is going to look radically from tomorrow's banking model.
Fascinating stuff. Well, Mark and Shanker, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you.
Taking time away from your Sibos to join us here at Finextra TV.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.